Okay, today we're diving into a real puzzle coming out of India's energy sector. It's one of those stories where there's incredible progress on one hand, but it comes with this really surprising and kind of concerning twist on the other. So here it is, the central mystery. India has been on an absolute tear, installing renewable energy like you wouldn't believe. More solar, more wind. I mean, you'd naturally think the electricity powering our lives would be getting cleaner every single year, right? Well, what if I told you the actual data shows the exact opposite is happening?
This number is everything. It's what's called India's Grid Emission Factor. Basically, it's a measure of how much carbon gets pumped out for every unit of electricity we use. And here's the kicker. This number has actually gone up since 2020. So despite all those shiny new solar panels, the power grid has, on average, gotten dirtier. How on earth is that possible? Let's break it down.
First things first, let's really get our heads around this clean energy paradox.
So on the surface, the story is just a massive success. I mean, by the middle of 2025, 50% of India's entire power capacity will come from non-fossil fuels. That's a huge achievement. But you got to pay attention to that key phrase, installed capacity. That right there is our first major clue.
And that clue brings us right to the heart of the issue, understanding the huge difference between capacity and generation. Okay, this is absolutely critical to understand. Capacity is all about potential. Think of it like a sports car that can go 200 miles per hour. Generation is how much electricity is actually made and delivered. So you can have a giant solar farm with massive capacity, but you know what? When the sun sets, its generation plummets to zero. And here is where you can see that mismatch in stark reality. Remember that awesome 50% capacity from clean sources? Well, in the 2023-24 period, all of that capacity only delivered about 22% of the electricity India actually used. So what made up the rest? Yep, you guessed it, mostly coal. So what this really means is that the gap between what we could produce cleanly and what we do produce is getting bigger. As India's economy booms, electricity demand is soaring, and it's the old, reliable, but dirty coal plants that are being fired up more and more to meet that demand. And here's clue number 2, and it's all about timing. This chart shows a daily problem we can all relate to. In the middle of the afternoon, the grid is just swimming in cheap, clean solar power. Awesome. But when do we all use the most electricity? In the evening. We get home from work, flip on the lights, turn on the AC, the TV, and at that exact moment, solar generation has just completely fallen off a cliff. So how does the grid handle this evening energy rush hour? It calls in the heavy hitters, the coal plants. They basically act as the system's backup, ramping up production to meet that spike in demand. And that, right there, is precisely why the grid's average carbon intensity is going up. We're solving our evening peak problem with our dirtiest fuel. So, we've pretty clearly diagnosed the problem. Now let's talk about the solution, and it involves this really powerful idea called the first fuel. The concept is just so simple and elegant. The cleanest, cheapest, and most reliable energy source is the energy you don't have to produce in the first place. You see, they call energy efficiency the first fuel because it solves the problem at the root. It reduces demand before you even need to think about generating more power. And look, this is not just some nice theory. It's already working. Between 2017 and 2023, just through efficiency measures, India saved the energy equivalent of 200 million tons of oil. That is a massive impact. And the climate impact of that? Absolutely staggering. Those savings kept almost 1.3 gigatons of CO2 from ever hitting the atmosphere. It's like this invisible hero doing an incredible amount of heavy lifting behind the scenes. And hey, if the environmental argument doesn't grab you, the economic one is an absolute knockout. These efficiency measures led to savings of nearly 7.6 trillion rupees. That's over 90 billion US dollars. It's a win for the climate and the huge win for the economy. Okay, so if efficiency is the goal, how do we actually get there? Well, there's a clear action plan, a 6-step roadmap to build a much smarter, more flexible grid. The plan is pretty clear. 1. Let's create virtual power plants by connecting things like home batteries to the grid. 2. Get super efficient appliances into homes faster. 3. Help small and medium businesses upgrade their gear. 4. Use flexible pricing to reward people for using power when it's cheap and clean. 5. Literally pay people to scrap their old, clunky, inefficient equipment. And 6. Start buying electricity services, like green cooling, instead of just raw power. All right, finally, let's just zoom all the way out to the big picture, because the stakes here, well, they're incredibly high for everyone.
This slide really puts the challenge into perspective. Look at countries like France or Sweden. Their grids are incredibly clean. Now look at India, still way up at 0.727. The goal is to get that number way down to 0.430 by 2032. That is a monumental task, and it's going to require a whole new way of thinking.
So when you boil it all down, the path to a truly clean grid for India isn't just about building more solar farms. It has to be built on a foundation of intelligence and flexibility, a system that is just as good at managing demand as it is at managing supply. A quote from the experts behind this analysis really just says it all. Efficiency must become the first fuel, and flexibility, not fossil fuels, must power the future. That's it. That's the fundamental shift in thinking we need. And that leaves us with one final and really crucial question. The choice facing India, and frankly the whole world, isn't just about what kind of power plant to build next. The real question is this: will our future be powered by simply finding more fuel, or by creating more flexibility?